Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome to the Mekko Graphics webinar. I'm David Goldstein. I'm the president of Mekko Graphics, and we'll spend the next half hour talking to you about how to create better Cascade charts. There are a few things that I wanted just to say at the start before we get going. First is that we will have one of my colleagues will be available to answer any questions you have during the webinar. And I will stick around for a few minutes after the webinar if you want to ask me questions about the Cascades or about anything else about our product or about charting. Second is that I will be working with a Windows version of Mekko Graphics and doing stuff in PowerPoint and also a little work in Excel as well. If you're on the Mac version of Mekko Graphics, you'll have all of the PowerPoint capabilities, but the Excel add-in does not work on the Mac version. So that's an introduction. So let me dive in and talk a little bit about Cascade charts. Some people call them waterfall charts. Other people call them bridge charts. I will use Cascade as the way to go, at least at the start. What I'm going to do is show you some different types of Cascade charts, different use cases for Cascades, and also try to answer some of the common questions that our customers have when they are making Cascade charts. So that's where we're going to go. Let me just talk briefly about the different types of Cascades. We'll talk a little bit about build up and build down Cascade charts, which are charts that show how your whole profits or revenue are broken down into categories. We will talk about a lot about change Cascade charts, which is probably the most common use of Cascade charts to show how profits or revenues have changed over time and to break out the change into different categories. We'll also show you a horizontal Cascade chart and how to make it. And I'll answer the question that we often get from our customers, which is, can I make a stacked Cascade chart? And if so, how do I do that? So I will also show you how to make a stacked Cascade as well. So that's where we're going. Let me jump in by starting with the build-up Cascade chart. I kind of like the build-up. I like to use a Cascade chart instead of a pie chart or 100% stacked bar chart with one bar if I want to break down the whole into its component parts. So you can see in this chart, we're breaking down the cost of an iPhone SE into the cost of its main components. And the advantage, you can do this as a pie chart. You can do this as a 100% stacked bar chart with one bar. But I like doing it as a Cascade for a couple of reasons. One is you can have a lot more categories in the Cascade because it's running horizontally, and you've got your screen and your paper, if you're showing your PowerPoint, are both wider than they are tall. So you can fit a lot of different components into a Cascade. You can split them out and read them much more easily. You can do subtotals, which you can see I did here. I broke down the cost into the cost components, and then I added gross profit and retail price. And you can also add data rows to the bottom of the chart here as well. So you can highlight differences in the chart, or add some key features and put them in the data rows at the bottom. And if you're not familiar with data rows in Mekko Graphics, you can have one or more data rows below pretty well any bar or cascade chart in Mekko Graphics, and the data rows will align with the bars in the chart. So I just have the 3 data rows here, and I use the little check mark as my data in the data rows. They don't have to be numeric. The data rows can have characters as well as numbers in them. So they can be really useful. Next thing I want to show you is basically the reverse of that. Basically, we call we're instead of building up to the cost, we're building down from revenue in an income statement down to net income. So and here we've got several different subtotals here: gross margin, operating income, income before taxes, and net income. And let me show you how to do this. I was going to show you how to make this chart, and I'm going to show you how to make this chart using Excel. So I'm going to switch to Excel. Oftentimes, data for a chart like this will come in a row, in a single column rather than in a single row. But Mekko Graphics likes its data for its Cascade charts as a single row. So I will show you how to transform this into the data you would need for a Cascade chart. So let me just make this a little bigger. I'm going to go to the Mekko Graphics ribbon in PowerPoint, in Excel, I'm sorry. I'm going to say I want to create my chart in Excel, and I'm going to say I want this to be a Cascade chart. It'll put the chart here right next to the data based on the data range I highlighted. I'm going to move it. I'm going to move it and make it a little bigger, a little wider. And then you can see that this looks nothing like a Cascade chart that you were trying to do. The trick here, again, is just to use this button here to basically tell Mekko Graphics that this column really should be treated as a row. And this button basically does that. We call it switch bars and series. The button is also available in your in PowerPoint. So if you copied this data into PowerPoint, you copied it into your spreadsheet in PowerPoint, there's a little button in the right-hand corner of the spreadsheet that looks just like this, and it allows you to switch bars and series in the chart. So once you do that, now it looks a lot more like the Cascade that we were trying to create. From here, you can set the total bars, the bars that go down to the x-axis. You can do that in a bunch of different ways. The easiest ways is the easiest way is to select the bars that you want to be totals, right-click on them, and say Show Bar as Total Cascade. So now we're pretty close to the kind of cascade that we want to create. I might want to make this a little bigger just so it can be a little more easily seen. I might want to adjust my y-axis, which is very easy to do just by clicking on the y-axis. Then I can drag the maximum down, and I can drag the tick interval down. I can add linking lines here if I want, and maybe adjust my margins a little. There. Now I've got a cascade pretty close to the cascade that I created in PowerPoint based on the data and sitting here in Excel. From here, I can copy and paste this into PowerPoint if I want, or just leave it here in Excel as an example of as a cascade chart. sitting in Excel. So there's my example. Very simple way to build a cascade, build it in Excel. Next thing I wanted to show you was I wanted to try to answer probably the most common question I get when I'm demoing Mekko Graphics and I get to the Cascade chart. And our support team gets this question all the time as well. Really, it's the question of, I want all of my positive numbers in my Cascade chart to show up in green and all of my negative numbers to show up in red. I'm going to show you 3 different ways to do that. So let me, the first way is just to go in and color each of these bars in the chart, each of these bars as green, and each of these bars as red. Probably the simplest approach, the least scalable. If you got a lot of bars, it might be a lot of work. If your numbers change, you have to go in and change. If your numbers change from positive to negative, you've got to go in and change the coloring. Just let me show you the data for this Cascade chart. So you can see the data here is laid out as one row. If I wanted to lay it out as a column, here's the button that says switch bars and series that would treat the column as a series instead of as a bar in the chart. So with the data laid out like this, the chart initially is going to look like this. And if I want all of these to be green and all of these to be red, the simplest way to do that is just to click on all the ones I want to be green, right click, and then I want to change, I don't want to change the series because that's going to change everything because I just have the one series in the chart. I want to change the segment colors, and there's a nice green. And then I can just click on these here, right click, and change the segment colors to red. Easy, very quick. You get your greens and reds, but again, not very scalable. If your data changes, if something changes from green to red, if you're using it from one month to the next, then you're going to have to make the adjustments manually. Second way, have 2 different series, one for your positive numbers and one for your negative numbers. So let me show you that in my data sheet. So here my data sheet looks a little different. I put all my positive numbers in one row, all my negative numbers in another row, and then all I need to do is tell Mekko Graphics that the series that I want to call positive, I want to display as green, and the series I want to call negative, I want to display as red. And if you're clever with Excel and using if statements, you can lay out your data all in one row and then just have formulas that split it out into the positives and negatives. So you've got one series with all the positive numbers in it and one series with all the negative numbers in it. So once you do that, here, then it's going to look like this at the start, because you're going to have a series. You're going to have the 2 series are going to be different colors. So you just need to click and say, I want this series to be green, and then all the ones in the series I called positive would be green. And I want to click and say, I want this series to be red. All the series in the negative are going to be red. That's also accessible in the bars and series dialog if you prefer to work there. You can see series style, the positives are green and the negatives are red. You can also set that here. And the third approach, usually the one that I show when I'm just demoing one approach, is to use the Excel conditional formatting to make all your positives green and your negatives red. So that's something that is scalable, is relatively easy to do. If you're familiar with Excel and you're familiar with conditional formatting, I think that works pretty well. So if I were going here and here in my spreadsheet, all I did was I put in a rule using Excel conditional formatting to say if the cell value in any of the cells between C2 and M2 is less than 0, then use the fill color of red. If any of the values between C2 and M2 are greater than 0, use the fill color green. So Mekko Graphics will work with the fill color, not the text color, but the cell fill color in Excel, and will apply that, if you tell it to the colors in your Cascade chart or any other chart that you make. You can use this trick if you're making a Marimekko chart with a heat map and you want to assign colors based on values. So once you do that, you can create this chart in Excel from this data, or you can copy and paste this data into PowerPoint, which is what I did here. So if you look at my data sheet here, you can see the greens and reds because I just did a copy paste. And then the way to tell Mekko Graphics that you should use the fill colors rather than the traditional series colors is to go into Format Chart. In the Format section, if you click on the Chart button, and then you click on the Style tab, and then right up here under Color, apply cell colors from Spreadsheet. So if this were off, it's just going to take the regular colors. But if you click Apply Cell Colors from Spreadsheet, it will take the fill colors from your spreadsheet and apply it to the chart. So maybe that's more than you care to know about coloring a Cascade chart, but I wanted to give you your options, and then you can decide what works best for you. Next thing I wanted to do was show you a couple of simple tricks for formatting or reformatting your Cascade chart. So sometimes you want your chart to show up backwards. You want the last bar in your data, in this case total market, to be the first bar in your chart. You want it to go from basically from left to right, even though your data is from, you want it to go from right to left, even though your data is from left to right. So to do that, you just need to change the layout of the chart. And that's right up here in the chart section under layout. You just say reverse x-axis. So here's the data the way it comes by default. And if you want to switch it, you just say reverse x-axis. And reverse x-axis is also available in the Format Chart section, in the General tab, right here, reverse x-axis. So you've got two places that you can click to switch it from one way to the other. So sometimes you want to do that. Very easy to do, just to click. The next thing you often want to do to change the format of your chart is to lay it out vertically instead of horizontally. This is very useful, especially if you've got long labels like I do here. And to do that again, it's really just in the same spot up here, layout instead of vertical, which is the default. Let's make it horizontal. And once it's horizontal, you can also move the y-axis from the bottom to the top of the chart if you want. Right now, I don't have a y-axis in my chart at all, but if I did, I could move it to the top instead of the bottom of the chart. So these are just clever ways, just different ways to look at a cascade, and we give you those options in Mekko Graphics. So next, I wanted to show you some change cascade charts. These are probably the most common uses of a cascade to look at change over time, typically in profits, as we did here. sometimes in revenue, and we're splitting out the profit change into three different chunks. And this is based on Amazon's data from one of the third quarter of I guess third quarter 2016. So, well, third quarter 2017. So what we're doing is we're splitting it out into the change caused by increases in revenue in North America, increases in international revenue, and Amazon Web Services change. And a couple things that I often like to do in a Mekko Graphics Cascade chart. One is to add the axis breaks, and those are very easy to add. All you need to do is right-click on the axis and then just insert the axis break, or right-click in the segment where you want the axis break to appear and insert the axis break. You can drag and make the break bigger. You've got two different styles of axis break here, and you can switch from one style to the other. Oops, wrong way. Yeah, there, that's close to the way the chart was. Second thing that's nice in a Cascade chart is to use one of these bar comparison lines, which are available right up here on the Mekko Graphics ribbon. And this gives you a numeric reinforcement on the change between Q316 and Q317. And here I'm displaying both the absolute and the percentage change. Third thing that's nice, and you can do that just by inserting the axis break, and then you can format it on the right click. You can click format bar comparison line, and here we can say show title and value, and the value I'm showing as a percentage as well. Third thing that I wanted to show in the Cascade chart is you can create a stack if you need it. If you wanted to highlight a key item, you can just add that as a separate row in the chart. So here I've got the base row here for my data, and then this little extra row for Whole Foods, and that shows up and it's only in North America, and it shows up as a stack in the bar chart. The last thing I want to show you in this Cascade is the data row. And again, the data row is a great way to add some other information to your chart. In this case, it's year-over-year growth, and you could clearly see that even though web services contributed the smallest amount to net sales growth, it had the biggest year-over-year growth between 16 and 17. So you can also sometimes put a couple of these charts on a slide. I've seen a lot of our customers do 2 or even 4 cascades on a slide. They often work well, especially if you've got the axis break in them. They often work well as 2 on a slide, top and bottom. And 2 on a slide is available, if you don't know, from Mekko Graphics. Insert multiple charts, 2 charts top and bottom. So this will give you 2 charts on the slide. And I often use a highlight color if I've got a lot of numbers and a lot of data in my chart to draw the viewer's attention to what I think are the key numbers. In this case, iPhone sales and sales in China. Then the last sort of big, or the second probably most common question we get when we make the cascade chart is, how do I do a stacked cascade? And the stacked cascades can be really useful. You see I've got it here. I wanted to split my totals into money going to the PE firm and money going to the management. And I wanted to split my EBITDA improvement into expense reduction, share gain, and market growth. And you can see that right here. If I take a look at my data, you can see that I've got a bunch of different rows here for equity value at close and equity value at exit. I've got PE firm and management set here. Then I only have one value for fees and expenses, one value for debt pay down, but three values for EBITDA improvement. I'm splitting that out into debt reduction, into market growth, share gain, and expense reduction. So if you lay out your data this way, it's very easy to create the cascade, the stacked cascade chart. And I wanted to leave you with a more complex stacked cascade just to show you a bunch of different features in Mekko Graphics and show you how to build a chart like this. So I am going to add a new slide. I'm going to go back to Excel. I'm going to show you my data for this chart here in Excel. So here I've got, let me show you the data and the chart next to it. Here we go. So you can see I've got three categories for the major categories of Olympic sports that were at the 1980 Lake Placid Games: snow sports, ice sports, and sliding sports. And then you can see how many more snow sports, ice sports, and sliding sports were in the games that were just finished up in Korea. So they're stacked for each of these. And then I went and found all of the different sports that were at the 1980 Olympics and at the Korean Olympics, and I looked at how many sports were added. So here, speed skating was added as an ice sport, and these are the snow sports that were added. The other ice sports, and it's all split out here, and you can see how it splits into the stacked cascade here. Everything under snow is here: cross country, biathlon, freestyle, snowboard. So let me just highlight this data. Go to the Mekko Graphics ribbon. Let's make this chart in PowerPoint, and it'll be a cascade chart. I'll go to my slide, add my chart. It's going to look like this. Right click, make this bar a total cascade. Now it's a little closer to how I want it to look. Adjust my maximum. Adjust my margins. I often like in a cascade chart to hide my axes. Make the chart look a little cleaner. And then from here, I want to show my labels. I want to show all labels, and I want to show values and names there. And then I can go here and take out these smaller segments. Try that again. Take out these smaller segments and annotate them. Oh, I need to sort them first. I want to sort all these. So in each bar, the biggest segment is on the bottom. There. Now I want to take my smallest ones here and annotate them. And I can go in and change my colors if I want. And I would do that in bars and series. Series style. So I think I made the snow sports a darker gray, the ice sports a middle gray, oops, maybe a lighter gray, and the sliding sports. I messed this up a little. We'll make them white. And then I can go in and choose a color for all of the sports that were added between over the last few years. And if you start, I realized I'm running out of time. If you start working on it like that, you end up with basically, let's make all of these sports that were added blue and all the sports that were expanded green. And from there, very easy to just add this legend to show the blues separate from the greens. So you can make a pretty complex stacked cascade chart using colors as an extra variable, using the bar comparison line to draw attention to the key changes. So I hope that was helpful to get you going. I hope that answered some of your key questions about Cascade charts. If you've got more questions, I'll direct you to some resources we have on our website. Those include a page called Visit All About Cascade Charts. We've got our chart gallery, which has got a Cascade section, and in total over 200 charts. If you want broader introduction to Mekko Graphics, we have a training webinar that we run every other month. It's about a 90-minute webinar. We also record it, and it's sitting on our website. We'll do another one of those in mid-March. And we also have some short videos if you just want to know, how do I make a bar Mekko chart? How do I make a Cascade chart? We've got videos that will show you that. I always want to put a plug in for my chart of the week. This Olympic chart was the chart of the week a couple of weeks ago. You can subscribe to that on our website, and you'll see different charts every week, and maybe learn a little bit about how you can create charts, different kinds of charts with Mekko Graphics. We've also got a bunch of other materials on our website. Plus, if you ever get stumped in Mekko Graphics, in the Mekko Graphics ribbon, under Help, we do have Ask an Expert. This will send us an email. We'll be able to answer your charting questions. And if you ever run into an issue with Mekko Graphics that's more technical, you can press this email support button. This will send us an email with some diagnostic files attached to it, and we'll help you work through whatever questions that you have. Just as a wrapping up, wanted to let you know that we will send you all copies of this presentation. We will also send you, we'll also post the video of this webinar on our website, so you're welcome to look at it. So that's it. Again, I will stick around and answer any questions if you've got them. If not, thank you for your time, and thank you for using Mekko Graphics, and have a good day.